Hello, dear viewer. I am a global nationalist. This means that I support nationalism in my country, India, and in countries all over the globe. Today is the fourth Saturday of the month, and so as per my schedule, I will be discussing about nationalism and in a country outside of South Asia. Today, the country I will focus on is the United States of America. Today, the topic I'll discuss will be the congressional hearing that occurred on the 20th of July between Anthony Fauci and Congress. Dr. Anthony Fauci is the director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases in America. He is also the head of the National Institute of Health, also called as abbreviated as the NIH. In this congressional hearing, he was discuss telling Congress what his department had done during the coronavirus and uh, specifically the origins of the pandemic. What I want to discuss today is the questioning that Senator Rand Paul put uh, Dr. Fauci under. Senator Rand Paul is the senator from Kentucky. So, Mr. Paul accused Dr. Fauci of lying to Congress because on May 11th of this year, Dr. Fauci had appeared in another congressional hearing where he had stated that the NIH did not give any grant to the Wuhan Institute of Virology for conducting gain of function research. Now, gain of function research is defined as any medical research in that involves enhancing the any virus or any disease to increase its transmissibility and infectiousness. This is so this the reason for doing this is so that medicines and vaccines can be created for such uh, disease if it were to occur in nature. Now, in this hearing, Senator Paul produced a paper, or rather presented a paper from the Wuhan Institute of Virology, stating that they in fact had conducted gain of function research, which goes against what Dr. Fauci had said in the earlier hearing. Now, after this hearing was the current hearing, after the hearing on 20th July, Dr. Senator Paul, who's also a doctor, an ophthalmologist specifically, he has said that he will write a letter to the Department of Justice seeking a referral, a criminal referral against Anthony Fauci, because according to him, he has lied to Congress, and lying to Congress in America is offense, is a criminal offense, punishable with imprisonment of 5 years or fine or both. And so now let's get into the exactly what was said and see who was right and who was wrong. Now, Dr. Fauci has said that the report that Senator Paul had presented had been gone through by his staff, and they found out that it was inaccurate, completely inaccurate, that there was no way that the research conducted in the Wuhan lab could be classified as gain of function research. Now, Senator Paul, Rand Paul, says that it was gain of function research. Now, both these statements can't be true. It either was gain of function research or it either was not. So, how can we know the truth about this? We have to look at, first off, we have to see the statements of both of these gentlemen. Dr. Fauci claims that his department, the staff in his department, went through the document and found it to be inaccurate. Now, his the claim made by this paper is that the their that institute did this research using funding provided by the National Institute of Allergies and Infectious Diseases, and the National Institute of Health. If this is true, then if this really happened, then everyone in that department would be culpable, and at least morally and also legally, maybe even criminally, for the pandemic that has occurred. So the entire department would like uh, that to not be true, would like the report to say that they did not fund gain of function research. So they would already had to have an interest in what the report would say. So uh, financial and legal interest. So that is what you call a conflict of interest. On one hand, when they examined the paper, they were supposed to find out whether it was true or false. On the other hand, they had to protect their own uh, interests, their own scientific professional interests. So their assessment is not credible. Now, to the paper presented by the senator, let's talk about that. He claims that a scientist from the Rutgers University has gone through the paper and found it that, in fact, it was gain of function research, that it is obviously gain of function research. And the paper says that they used viruses in mammals and conducted experiments on them to make them more infectious for humans. Now, this statement in the paper does not specifically say that it was gain of function. Sorry, this statement does not state specifically that it was gain of function research. However, this is the definition of gain of function research. So it was. They did uh, do it. Now, therefore, and this is why I believe Rand Paul. Rand Paul. Now, let me talk about how this hearing was covered by the mainstream media in America. As anyone in America knows, and even globally, the world knows, but not to the same extent that the average American knows. The American media is uh, politically is biased, especially nowadays. Earlier, there was some objectiveness, especially in the mainstream media, but that is no longer the case. For example, CNN, MSNBC, on TV, and in print, the New York Times and the Washington Post were pro-Democrat during the Trump administration, and even before that, during the Obama administration. They were very liberal, but they had liberal bias, the left-wing bias. They were very anti right-wing, anti-Republican, and hated Trump. And Then, on the other hand, there's Fox News, which has always been supportive of the Republican Party and conservatives in America, and they were against the Democrats and liberals and left wing policies. Now, the problem is that media houses like CNN and New York Times claim that they are not biased and that they are objective. Fox News is quite honest that they are a conservative outlet, that they are biased. Excuse me, I have a cold. Please excuse me. So Fox News supported Rand Paul, which is expected. Now, however, because the media like CNN and MSNBC claim to be objective, you would expect them to have covered the entire hearing properly without supporting either party. However, that is not what happened. They supported Dr. Fauci completely. If you search on Google this hearing, Dr. Fauci and Rand Paul, all the headlines and the uh, reports from the mainstream media are supportive of Dr. Fauci. They make him look good and make Rand Paul look bad, which which is very unfortunate because this is a matter of public health. It should not be politicized, especially by the media. They should keep it as objectives. And this is very unfortunate and irresponsible of them. However, there are several independent journalists who have covered this hearing and the entire issue of the lab leak theory. This includes journalists like Saga Rinjeti and Crystal Ball, who were part of The Hill and are now uh, have a YouTube channel called Breaking Points, and other journalists like Rogan, and scientists like Brett Weinstein and others. They were talking about the lab leak theory for a long time, and they covered this in an objective manner. And even then, they came to the conclusion that Rand Paul was right. Now, let me talk that way. This shows how the American mainstream media is not a patriotic, nationalistic media. They work for their own interests, their own uh, and globalist interests, and they can't be trusted properly. Fox News can be trusted to some extent. They are patriotic, but even they have become more liberal biased as times have gone on. Maybe because American society has become more left wing as a whole. And so also, when you talk about the lab leak theory itself, this theory was at first support propounded by nationalists like Donald Trump, who was the then president of the United States, and Jair Bolsonaro, who is the president of Brazil, and other nationalists in the media and alternative media like uh, Alex Jones, Tim Pool has spoken about this. They were and in India, um, media houses like We On, Times Now, and the Republic Network supported at least examined the lab leak theory and actually ended up supporting it. However, they didn't come out in support of Trump, and my government did not, in Indian government did not take a stand on this issue, has not commented on it, except that they have asked for the WHO to have some reforms. That's it. That's all that they've commented. Globalist politicians like Joe Biden, Nancy Pelosi, um, the opposition parties in Brazil, the World Health Organization, especially Mr. Tedros, the head of the World Health Organization, all dismissed this theory without even giving it a chance, without properly examining it.